what a year 2025 was for Narnia Web. Certainly we were not idle in the 14 years between the Voyage of the Dawn Treader movie coming out and then getting kind of a release date that there was a new one coming out from Netflix. But this is the first year we've had where we have enough material to do a year in review, a recap of all the most popular, the most exciting or not exciting or controversial or perplexing or whatever stories that came out in 2025. So that's what we're going to give you here. And who better than to have Impending Doom with us, one of the lead news writers for NarniaWeb.com. And thank you for assembling this into a very internet-friendly list for us on the Narnia Web news page. Go and check that out. The top stories of 2025. We're going to be following along with that. Except we're going to be going in chronological order. You kind of organize these. What was your kind of rationale for how you ordered them in the news post?
So it was sort of most popular. So what resonated most with our readers, our social media following. So sort of a reflection of that.
Doom, let me take you back in time to a simpler time.
Yes.
When dinosaurs roamed the earth. In January 2025, when basically here's what we knew about the movie. We knew it was Netflix. We knew it was Greta Gerwig writing and directing. 2 movies, apparently. No idea which 2. It was speculated, probably Magician's Nephew or The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is what she would start with. But just guessing at this stage a year ago, just guessing. And we were just getting a sense that, hey, maybe this will get a decent-sized theatrical release. Maybe it won't just be a very limited theatrical release just so they can get some Oscars. Maybe this will be a decent-sized theatrical release. And whoa, IMAX, hello. So we were just getting a sense of that. So that leads me into our very first story, which dropped.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
Just shortly here. We also heard Amy Pascal. She dropped her infamous rock and roll
we
quote.
Did. Yes, and
she did do that in December.
That's true. That was a month prior. So we knew that apparently the movie was going to be, quote, all about rock and roll.
Whatever that meant at the time.
But it was still like, okay, but most of us thought, we were disregarding that, thought it probably meant nothing. It was just Amy Pascal being a weirdo. And now, as we'll get to later in this episode, at the very end of the recap, now there's some question of, is there actually some substance to that? But we're not there yet. We're back in our wonderfully naive stage of January 2025, where it gets announced where the movie is going to be coming out, and we still don't know it's The Magician's Nephew, but we know whatever it is, it's going to be coming out in Thanksgiving 2026. It'll start off as an IMAX exclusive before it goes to Netflix. So I call this one and we're going to give little titles to each of these stories. I just call this one the most exciting. Does that sound about right for you?
Definitely, in retrospect, it was most like authentic fan excitement. There was nothing negative about the production in my estimation. So it was just pure joy. We were returning to the big screen and kind of the start of the journey with fellow fans again. So that was most exciting. I had most likely to be real this time.
Most likely to be real this time. That's true, because after Dawn Treader, it's easy to forget, immediately after Dawn Treader came out, it was the most likely scenario. Like a lot of the discussion was about, well, Walden Media wants to do The Magician's Nephew next. That was initially what they were talking about doing. Then that faded out for a couple years. And then Gresham came along and said, we actually want to do Silver Chair. Walden Media was out of the picture at that point. And they got as far as getting a screenwriter who we had on this podcast. We had a director, Joe Johnston, and that petered out. Matthew Aldrich came on for a little bit as the creative architect.
On.
To apparently do shows and movies. And then finally we go to Netflix and Greta Gerwig. So most likely to be real. I think that's a great title for this one right here. Okay, so it's still January 2025, and we have a release date. We've got a director. That's about it. What next, Doom?
This was a really exciting month in retrospect, because towards the tail end here, we first it was a Narnia Web exclusive. I will say the news team first got some intel of a casting call that had been circulating earlier that week. And of course, what was on the casting call? It was for 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl, pretty much confirming that
Age 10 to 11, right?
Age 10 to 11 specifically.
Yes.
So that was kind of all but confirming we'd be seeing the magician's nephew.
Because what else could it be besides Diggory and Polly, was the thinking. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And there was, we had heard an audition was being, some of the casting call for the callbacks, they were using code names, and we had heard one for Franny. So we didn't really know what to do with that, but it was like, okay, it's just a code name. They don't want to spoil anything.
Right. And later we got Isidore, which we're assuming are code names, as happens sometimes, code names for Diggory and Polly. And that was kind of a strange one. And Jim Fan and Rillian did a little reenactment of the little bit of the audition side that was being used. So that was kind of a strange one to have to deal with the code names and all that. But yes, that was a can't say confirmation, but like, okay, Magician's Nephew seems the most likely at this point. So you're right. So that's where we're at. It's like, yeah,
it was super, super exciting. I think I'll speak for most people, the idea of seeing a movie that wasn't The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe having to start with that again, I think there was a lot of excitement. It's particularly from Narnia Web. This was one of our most read, I think the most read article on Narnia Web in 2025. So there was certainly a reflection of that in the responses.
Yeah, I'm going to call this one the most surreal. Just because, wow, we're going to see a big screen version of The Magician's Nephew. This is really happening, but also kind of the weirdness of having the Franny and Isidore code names for Diggory and Polly they were using to help keep the movie under wraps. So I'm going to call this one the most surreal for now, that this is really happening, and that's just kind of strange with the code names.
I had most likely to accidentally spoil a secret. Because Netflix, for some reason, is continually, to this date, we're almost a year past this point, Netflix still doesn't want to confirm that it is The Magician's Nephew, but all indications are.
Even though we all know that it is. Can you imagine?
Even though it's on the app. It's on Netflix.com.
They have a placeholder app, Narnia the Magician's Nephew. So maybe their working title, just for Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, is Narnia, the Magician's Nephew.
Come on.
That would be genius. That would be genius as a way to keep the secret. Anyway, okay, so we could just go ahead and end the podcast right here. And it was a fun year. Narnia Webbers were so excited. We could just end the podcast right here. Alas, we're going to move on here to
We were so
March.
young.
Yes, we were so young back then. We're going to go ahead and move on to March 31st. In most of the world, it was March 31st. In certain parts of the world, it was April 1st. I just think that's worth noting. But that's when Meryl Madness officially began. It dropped that Meryl Streep was in talks to voice Aslan. The initial report said Meryl Streep voicing Aslan. Also, Aslan would actually be female. And then a couple days later, Deadline came along and said they could corroborate the Meryl Streep part, but not that Aslan would actually be a lioness. So, there's been no further development since then, except for Narnia Web's own investigation, which suggests that we think probably Aslan will not be portrayed as a lioness. So I guess we think the most likely scenario is female actor voicing male character. But I'm going to call. What can we say about this one that hasn't already been said?
I'm tired.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's so many titles we could give this one. I'm going to call this one most likely to make Narnia Webbers lose sleep. Definitely you and I toss and turned a little bit over this one. You could call it the biggest gut punch. You could call it the most shocking. You could call it the most feathers ruffled. Yeah, you could call it the most social media burning down, whatever you want to call it.
Most likely to break the internet. That's what I had.
And this is where everything turns. I mean, this is where I think a lot of the yay Narnia. This is where it turns in a really big way. I mean, I remember shortly before this news dropped, about 70% of Narnia Webbers had a positive feeling about the movie. Shortly after, about 70% had a negative feeling about the movie. And there's still so much about this we don't know. For me, it's still obviously Aslan is the character. He's one of the reasons to go see a Narnia movie. So I'm concerned, but I'm also in a place of I want to wait and see, because there's a lot of unanswered questions here about how they're going to do this. So I've kind of got this one on the shelf a little bit, but it definitely looms over. And I think a lot of this stuff, there's a bunch of things we're going to get to in a second here, where little bits of news that came out where we went, well, that's a little strange. What's going on there? And I think if you subtract this Merrill report from the equation, I think there would be less negative reaction to some of that stuff. So you can't underestimate the effect of the Merrill cloud over everything here. And I'm just hoping, but once we get more details, more context, it'll start to make sense. I'm not at all closed off to the idea of a female actor voicing the character. I'm just kind of a bit curious as to why. And so for now, content to wait for more information. But yeah, it's a cloud that's been looming over all of this. But that leads us right into, I mean, that's certainly the number one major story about the movie that's come out, and I think most everyone's number one major concern. But that leads us into a few months later, we have the number two major concern.
And that would be timeline switch. Unfortunately, it was, let me pull up the exact date here.
I mean, as far as when did we know about this was a slow, and I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, I'm calling this one the slowest knife. Because it was a few weeks before this that our news team, and got a shout out to you and Icarus and Rose Tree Dryad, started getting the sense that as preparations for filming began, started getting the sense that this doesn't look like 1900, which is when the book is set. This looks rather later. And our Patreon supporters were the first Narnians in the world, I guess, to really have a sense that this might be coming. And we weren't 100% on it. It was just a sense that the news team was getting. And so a few weeks prior to the set photos coming out, we had already been talking about, by the time the set photos came out showing, oh yeah, this is the 1950s, this is not 1900, we'd already been talking about it on Discord for a few weeks. But remember the thing about the C.S. Lewis framing device it was speculated about?
Yes.
It was thought, because it's just interesting that it was being set in 1955, which is the same year the book was published, and there was speculation about maybe C.S. Lewis will be an actual character that will bookend the story. And then the more photos we saw and the more information we got, the more it looked like, no, it looks like this is actually when the movie is going to take place. And I guess the real dead giveaway was when we got our first look at Diggory and Polly. We'll talk about in a second here. But that was like, okay, they really have changed this they've moved the story from 1900 to 1955.
Because prior to that, aside from our first inclination where we had some photos of costumes, that initially tipped us off that maybe it wasn't quite the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And then it was like a week before filming, I think, or maybe a few days before filming, where we got another casting call for extras, and that's where they were calling for 1950s, like short, tidy hair to match the 1950s.
Yeah.
And that was what was that? It was my mind is going blank here, but that was the casting call that had to do with the swimming pool as well.
Yes.
So there was other question mark of like, there's a swimming pool, and not just like a public swimming pool in The Magician's Nephew, not the Wood Between the Worlds pool, but yeah, there's just a lot of question marks.
Going to be a scene taking place in the pool, apparently, possibly foreshadowing the Wood Between the Worlds in some way.
And I'm not completely closed off to the idea that we could still see C.S. Lewis involved in this as like a narrator type.
Right.
But yeah, it definitely doesn't look like it's a bookend sort of thing.
Yeah.
It looks like the
body of the story takes place there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So and that brings us into our next story, which is, you could kind of put these two together if you wanted, but just the location filming in England in general, and the surrealness again of here it is, they're actually filming, but also combined with, wait a minute, that's taking place later than in the book. And our first, I always feel a little bit sad that our first look at Diggory and Polly David McKenna and Beatrice Campbell, was overshadowed by so many other things. That should have been one of the moments on the journey anticipating this film. Here they are, Diggory and Polly. This is incredible. But unfortunately, all the discussion went to other things like that lion banner, which gave us hope that maybe this, okay, that's a lion with a mane. Maybe that's foreshadowing something. But maybe we'll get Aslan look at not being portrayed as a lioness. It gave us a little more hope on that front. But probably more so Jadis's costume. The first look at Jadis's costume just kind of stole the show, and we still just have no idea. There's been some interesting theories about there's some evidence to suggest there might be like the circus might be a part might be a plot point in the movie, and so maybe Jadis stole it from the circus on her wild rampage. So there are some theories here. Forrest on Discord titled this story "Cutest Couple." Jadis's go-go dancer stunt double and the faceless Diggory mannequin. Some interesting plot changes apparently, because you have Diggory with Jadis as she's rampaging through London apparently. And whether or not Diggory will have a head is yet to be confirmed, I guess. But cutest couple. I'll also call this one the most squint-worthy. Most Narnia Webbers squinting at Jadis's costume, various signs, etc. I think a lot of Narnia Webbers needed their eyes checked after this one.
Which, if this is your first episode checking out Talking Beasts, we have episodes pretty much reacting to each one of those things that Glumpole just mentioned. So you can go check out. But I had a lot of fun this summer anticipating, even with all the controversy coming out. It was a lot of fun. Every couple weeks, getting a new batch of photos from set. Even though they
fast-paced few weeks. I don't know how you guys kept up with it. You, Icarus, and Rose did an amazing job keeping up with it.
And Icarus, one of our great writers on Narnia Web, he actually got to visit one of the public sets where they were doing. Jadis was kind of crashing into one of a royal parade. So that was a lot of cool and there was a couple other Narnia Webbers in our Discord group that got to check out set, because we got intel ahead of time that this is where they were filming, so we were able to share that with our Discord Patreon members. So it was a good summer. Looking back on it, I would say
that was awesome. Yeah. So, but in the middle of all this kind of concern about why have they changed the time period, and again the cloud of Meryl hanging over all this, and what's up with Jadis's costume, and we still just have no idea. That might be one of the most perplexing ones, I guess. All kinds of theories is why does Jadis look like that, and what might it tell us about the rest of the movie. But in the middle of all this, we have something much simpler and much more pleasant and much more nostalgic.
Yes, the BBC got some love this past year. It was announced that they were going to be doing a new documentary along with a re-release on Blu-ray of the three series they did.
I guess sort of three, because Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader is sort of one. So,
which is still a weird decision, but
BBC
for a lot
trilogy.
A lot of fans really do love this series. Personally, I can take it or leave it. I like it for what it is, but I don't have too many fond memories growing up with it, so I have it from a different angle. But for a lot of fans, this was what they grew up with.
Yeah,
this was their Walden Media, Pevensey children.
Yeah, I don't love it, but it was just fun to finally get more. I'm looking forward to seeing the documentary. I still haven't seen it, but just because there's been a lot of that. It's a notable Narnia adaptation, and we don't have a ton of information about the creative process behind it. It's not like the Walden movies, where each movie has a second disc of special features and interviews and commentaries and such. So that's what I was most excited about, and it was just fun seeing the old cast come back. I'm going to call this one the most pleasant surprise. I was fine that we got. I was surprised that we got a Blu-ray release of this, and it seems like a lot of loving care has gone into it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that documentary.
For this one, I have my title I'm giving it is most likely to say they don't make them like they used to. And I think a lot of fans felt seen with this, because Walden
Yeah,
Media gets a lot of love, especially with the anniversaries this year, which we'll
which we'll
touch on
get
a
to.
bit.
Hmm.
So I think with all the Netflix productions and the Walden Media productions still being talked about, it was really cool to see those fans who really love these BBC adaptations have their moments. And on the readership side, like this was a huge story on Narnia Web, one of
Yeah. Uh-huh.
the top most read stories, and on social it went crazy. And how about the last
Absolutely.
battle? Would you have wanted to see BBC The Last Battle?
Sure, why not at this point? I mean, it's honestly, yes, I would love to have seen how they would have pulled it off. I think they probably just would have put a filter on the lens and overexposed the camera slightly for real Narnia at the end there and gone, "Oh wow, it's magic" or whatever. But sure, absolutely. Why not? I wouldn't have minded seeing a Last Battle BBC at all at that point. And one of the things people love about those BBC versions is the charming practical effects and costumes, which
Mm,
leads us into our next big story, which is Neil Scanlon. Am I saying that right, Regan?
I think
Uh,
so.
Neil Scanlon being involved in this Magician's Nephew adaptation, working on practical effects with. So we're expecting some animatronics and puppetry to be in the movie. And I would actually lump in with this one. In May, we heard that they were going to be shooting on film, and Greta was going to be shooting VistaVision, which
Sure.
I think is really exciting. I know it's a kind of a techie nerdy thing, but it just kind of speaks to the kind of movie she wants to make, which I'm really excited about. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping we'll see actual. I would love to see animals that aren't just done in the computer. I would love to see, let's do BBC, but with way bigger budget and modern technology. Let's see an intelligent integration of animatronics, puppetry with CG as an assist. I think would be awesome and incredibly innovative. So yeah, I think this is a really encouraging sign. I'm going to call this one probably just most promising. I think the just for me as a cinephile in particular, like seeing she's shooting on film and striving for practical effects is, oh, I want to see this movie. As a Narnia fan, I have my concerns, but as a cinephile, wow, Greta Gerwig doing a big budget fantasy movie, shooting on film, practical effects. Oh, take my money.
Mm.
So yeah, that gets me really excited.
And I had most likely to be appreciated later. Because, yeah, it's not gonna, it didn't jump off the page for me initially.
Mm-hmm.
But when we posted this on Instagram, the reaction from sort of, I would say this is the cinephile community, of just like rejoicing of like, finally practical effects are making a comeback. And it will add, we
Mm-hmm.
don't know to what extent practical effects versus visual effects are gonna, how that ends up coming out. It could just be the case where they're using this for reference on set, like sort of the puppetries, the animatronics, and then they'll be replaced in post. I hope
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case. Um,
Right.
but yeah, we still don't. We'll have to see how that plays out. But he was involved with Star Wars. He's won like five, or he's been nominated for five Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Babe, he was at the Jim Henson Creature Shop, and he was
Mm-hmm.
involved with an old adaptation in 1996 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that never got to
Mm-hmm.
um,
Really
come to
interesting.
the surface. Looks really nice.
This past year, we also saw the 75th anniversary of the Chronicles of Narnia. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was first published on October 16th, 1950. And we did a more definitive Narnia Web ranking with a more elaborate voting process where we wanted to figure out what is the official Narnia Weber, how do they rank the books? And not just ask people vote for your favorite, but ask people to submit their top three. Um, and basically, there were a couple of different methodologies for interpreting the data, but every methodology we used, we had The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Horse and His Boy at the top. Then you had Last Battle and Prince Caspian at the bottom, and the other three were very, very close
Very cool.
in the middle there. I've been reading the books to my 5.5-year-old, and we just finished Magician's Nephew a few days ago, and it's really made me wonder about my third place vote. I think for most people,
Oh,
for most people, like you ask them what's your favorite Narnia book, they've got it ready. They know what it is. Ask them what's your second favorite. They can think about it for a minute and they can say, oh, probably this one. Then the third one they really agonize over. And so, yeah. So in the past few months, I've read him Horse and His Boy and Magician's Nephew, and each one gone, oh, maybe that's my third favorite, actually. The theme of curiosity in The Magician's Nephew was really jumped out at me this time. So, yeah, I voted Silverchair for my third pick, but I'm going to question that every day of my life.
Like 75 years is a remarkable amount of time when you think about it, like how, like, it was 1950. Think about what else has come and gone since 1950, and the fact that these books we still have. Like,
still here,
Narnia Web,
doing a podcast.
We're still here doing a podcast about them. Narnia Web exists because of love for these books that C.S. Lewis wrote. And the sales reflect that. I think it's like 115 million copies. That the series has sold.
Got some new covers last year too. That was neat.
Very
to see.
hotly debated new covers.
Yes,
but it was great to see. Regardless,
not everybody loved them, but it was neat to see that they existed. I guess I generally liked them. And got some fancy anniversary editions as well. One of which we reviewed with a video.
And some nice board books. I'll give a shout out to the board books. Go check them out if you haven't.
Yeah, kids,
like
check
0 to 4 year olds, but. Get them for your kids. Get them for your nieces and nephews.
Or if you need a refresher on numbers 1 through 10, they're good for you either way. So I'll call this one. I got a title for this one. I guess just the most fun. It was just fun to go back to the basics of, hey, in the middle of all this about this new adaptation and what's happening and all this controversy and confusing stuff that's coming out. Just, hey, what's your favorite book? I think it was great to go back to basics there. So I'll just call this one the most fun.
And I have most likely to outlive us all. These books.
Oh, that's pretty good. I absolutely. Okay, on to what I am going to call. I could have given this one to the White Witch's costume, but I think I'll give it to this one. Just most perplexing. And we did a whole podcast about this just a few weeks ago, so we don't have to harp on it too much, but IMAX CEO Rich Gelfond's comments saying, this is not your grandmother's Narnia, and then promising it would have a, quote, incredibly contemporary music, and he then proceeded to cite 2 bands from the 60s, where he's incredibly contemporary music, and he said Pink Floyd and The Doors. So yeah, Narnia Webbers historically have had really strong opinions about music in the movies. So I read that and went, oh yeah, that's not going to go over very well. So I decided to give most perplexing to this one instead of the White Witch's costume, because there are some theories about what on earth could be happening with the White Witch's costume, and not all of them are bad. This one, I don't have any theories. I don't know. I need more information, more context. I can appreciate that Greta Gerwig might want to do something innovative with fantasy music. I think some people watching would not want that, and that's okay. Just get John Williams, okay? Just get Hans Zimmer. It's fine. Just do that. But, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite scores, and at the time having electric guitar in a Western was like, what are you guys doing? And, 70 years later, that's practically a cliche to have electric guitar in a Western. So I'm not closed off to experimenting and trying something new. So I'm open-minded on that one, but still confused and perplexed.
For me, I have most likely to be taken out of context, because I do think the reaction was maybe slightly overblown, because this definitely went around the internet. And what I mean by that, because I'll start off by saying I do not want to see unbelievably contemporary music featured in a Magician's Nephew movie. I don't want modern pop songs featured in a Narnia movie, and that's just me. Don't have to dwell on it too long, but I don't like the idea of that.
You speak for a lot of fans.
I think so. But at the same time, the quote, not your grandmother's Narnia.
Yeah.
I think it's important to keep in mind. Like, I think that quote is going to be used to sort of anyone who doesn't like any changes happening in the movie. That'll be the club.
That's their rallying cry. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair, that is such a terrible, terrible thing to say about a book that is being adapted that you're trying to promote, at least to the fans of that.
Which is not who he was speaking to. He was speaking to he was speaking to IMAX investors. So there's a bunch of ways you could kind of dismiss it and downplay it, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
No, exactly. And because Rich Gelfond has been talking throughout the entire year, he
certainly has, hasn't he?
He's very excited about this IMAX
True
deal.
Statement.
With
he's very excited about all 9 Narnia books. He's really excited.
And he characterized Narnia as like a children's Christmas story in a previous interview. So that's kind of the mentality, at least for Gelfond, of what Narnia is. So I think that's what he's speaking to, of like, this is going to appeal to both adults and to children and sort of be a 4-quadrant big tentpole film. I don't think he meant it as disrespectful to the series. We'll see if it ends up being disrespectful to the series, but it's an IMAX CEO. He's theatrical distribution. It ultimately doesn't matter what he says. So but still,
it's just
Netflix,
the fact that
don't let him talk anymore. Do not let him talk anymore.
But just bringing this back to the rock and roll quote that came out at the end of 2024, like those 2 comments together. Like if this was if it was just this quote from Rich Gelfond saying the Pink Floyd thing, contemporary music, I think we'd be like, okay, maybe the music will be, it's not going to be John Williams, but I think it wouldn't get nearly as much attention. But combined with the it's going to be all about rock and roll quote, you go, well, there's got to be some substance to this, right?
And Mark
we said all that
Ronson
before.
And Andrew Wyatt, the 2 composers, have been involved with pop music and rock music. They're music producers who've ventured into film composing. So it's not like they have to play the same. Like, just because he's made music, like he's produced music in the past, doesn't mean he's going to be doing pop songs for Narnia.
Right.
But yeah, you put all those things together and we're left with Not Your Grandmother's Narnia.
Yeah, it would be nice just for mental health of the Narnia web community to get something, even if it's just a piece of artwork, but something we can all point at and say, yeah, I remember this part of the book, and kind of rally around.
Fingers crossed we'll be getting something soon.
Before Thanksgiving 2026. That would have been a good way to close the video. But there's one more story here, and that's we marked the 20th anniversary of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movie, which released on December 9th, 2005. The cast released they recreated a photo, which I thought was really awesome to see. It was surprising to see Skander make an appearance, because he's kind of been
coming out of retirement,
out of the spotlight,
hibernation
for a long did the watch party, which was really fun. It was great to see it again. I'm gonna give this one, I guess, just most nostalgic. This one, I did 2 watch parties just about back to back, I don't I personally, I like the Walden Media Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movie. It's a kind of a 3 or 3.5 out of 5, somewhere in there. Like it's fine. It's pretty good. They probably don't like it as much as a lot of people that are watching, but it's it's a okay movie and an okay adaptation. I think it plays it really, really safe, for the most part, and I think Greta Gerwig is not playing it safe. So it will not be safe. But will it be good? Is the question of 2026. She's definitely trying something. We'll see. We'll see what the results are.
I had most likely to make you feel old from this. I don't know. We were anticipating, like on Narnia Web, for it to be, we wanted to do something special to commemorate the 20th anniversary. So we were conscious of that throughout the year, and then leading up to it, we did an interview with Justin Sweet, one of the concept artists behind.
Cool. That was so cool.
So if you're listening to this, you can go on Narnia Web and find that.
Thank you so much for having that idea and taking the lead on that. That was so cool.
It was great. I'm a big fan of the concept art that came out of the Walden movies, specifically The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Justin Sweet was a big part of that.
I've got some of his artwork hanging up upstairs, autographed by Andrew Adamson. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Really? Mm-hmm. Didn't know that.
Oh, I never told you that? Okay, I'll show it to you.
Yeah. But my point in saying that, what made it feel like it really hit was seeing Georgie Henley share that photo of the Four Pevensies and Andrew Adamson recreating those photos.
And I
from
just saw
set.
the photo, and I didn't quite look at the comparison one. I just went, okay,
It's
look at
them.
them being goofy and silly. Then it was, wait a second, I've seen that before. It took a while for me to put it together. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and so
that was fun.
I think it was really cool just to see the impact of the stories that they've had, that the stories had on them as actors. And it's kind of like they went on a similar journey to like a lot of us. And like looking back, we have the same memories of watching those kids on the behind the scenes documentaries. Like you mentioned the special features. Like I remember not growing up on them because I discovered them later in my teens, but like I just remember popping in the Blu-ray or the DVD and watching them. The Check
Or the
Gate
8-track
song
tape, whatever it was.
But I mean, it was just really cool to see it celebrated. And yeah, I'm curious how it sticks around
Yeah.
and how it's viewed post Greta Gerwig's film.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the nostalgia, not just for the movie, but really just for Narnia Web and all the back and forth and controversy, and just experiencing it all together, and everyone sharing their opinions in a passionate but also cordial way. That's what makes Narnia Web what it is, and looking forward to that again in 2026. Ultimately, we're hoping this ends on. I'm really hoping when we do our year in review video. I'm not sure if we'll do a year in review or just do a review a year from now. But Thanksgiving 2026 is when it's coming out, and I think as far as mental health, I'm hoping that we get something sooner rather than later. I don't think we will. I don't think we're going to get anything until definitely not till they're done filming. So I think late spring, probably more like into the summer before we have anything kind of concrete, like a trailer. So, but I would love to get something sooner than that. Just because it's been a long year, and some of us have been waiting like our whole lives to see The Magician's Nephew on the big screen. Yeah, buckle up our seatbelts.
Join us. We're here.
Join us.
We're getting excited. So yeah, hopefully if you're new to this community, jump in narniaweb.com. We've got a community there. Subscribe, listen to the podcast, all that good stuff. Because we're on YouTube right now. So
let's do it,
everyone.
Absolutely.
Further up and further in.
Further up and further in.